Welcome to Max Life, Man, the channel dedicated to men over 60 who refuse to fade quietly. I'm Dr. Sterling Thorne from the Evergreen Peaks Institute, and together with my team of researchers and clinicians, I've spent decades uncovering the truths about circulation, prostate health, testosterone, and the habits that decide whether your later years are full of energy or full of decline. Gentlemen, let me start with a shocker. Your erection is not just about sex, it's about survival. The strength of your morning circulation down there is your body's daily health report. A weak flow, it's not just a bedroom problem. It's often an early sign of heart disease, hormonal imbalance, or prostate dysfunction. Yet too many men shrug it off as just age. Here's the reality. Age doesn't steal vitality, neglect does. Science is clear. Harvard Health reports that poor sleep and diet drain testosterone and accelerate erectile decline faster than aging alone. The Journal of Nutrition shows that foods rich in nitrates, like beet juice, can raise nitric oxide and significantly improve blood flow in older men. The Journal of Urology confirms that prostate health and circulation are inseparable. A healthy prostate means stronger erections, better confidence, and lower risk of disease. That's why today we're not just talking about foods or habits, we're talking about lifelines. But before we go further, let me pause and ask you to do something very small yet very powerful. Backhand index pointing right press like right now. You might think, Doc, it's just a button. What difference does that make? Here's the difference. Pressing like is not just for the algorithm, it's for yourself. It's your first declaration in this moment. I refuse to accept decline as normal. I choose to fight for my health. I choose vitality. And let me bless you for it. To every man who presses like, may your circulation flow freer, your mornings be stronger, your testosterone steadier, and your confidence alive. May your prostate stay clear, your energy return, and may the universe itself bring you joy, health, and unexpected renewal. Try it, and you may find that life itself responds with blessings you never imagined. Think about it. Men over 60 live two very different stories. The first story, a man ignores the signs. He wakes up 3 times a night to urinate, but he says, it's just age. He feels weaker mornings, less desire, more fatigue, but he stays silent, ashamed to speak. His diet is poor, his sleep irregular, his blood flow weak. Soon his intimacy fades, his confidence erodes, and his health spirals downward. He tells himself it's inevitable, but it isn't. The second story, a man chooses differently. He pays attention. He eats foods that boost nitric oxide and blood flow like beets, spinach, pomegranate. He moves daily, even just a walk after breakfast. He respects recovery, listens to his prostate, balances frequency. He doesn't treat sexual health as taboo. He learns, he asks, he acts. His mornings may not be like 25, but they're strong, steady, and full of dignity. Which story do you want? That's why I keep reminding you, press like, because it's not just a click, it's your choice. It's you saying, I choose the second story, I choose health. And science backs this up. The American Heart Association shows that men who actively track and adjust their habits, food, exercise, rest, see improved circulation within weeks, not years. The Journal of Gerontology proves that men who stay engaged in health decisions live longer, healthier, and more confident lives. In other words, transformation doesn't begin someday. It begins today with one choice. So here's what we'll uncover in today's session. The masturbation mistakes silently harming older men. The prostate signals you must never ignore. The foods like beet juice that can naturally restore nitric oxide and blood flow. Why abstinence doesn't protect health and balance is the true key. The habits that keep erections strong, not for vanity, but for life, energy, and dignity. Gentlemen, let me be clear, you are not too old. You are not broken. You are not finished. At 60, 70, even 80, you still have choices. And those choices, small, daily, deliberate, can reignite energy, restore confidence, and protect manhood. So one more time, backhand index pointing right press like right now. Do it not just for me, but for you, for your mornings, for your circulation, for your strength. Because that small act carries a big blessing. May your nights be restful, your mornings full of power, your heart steady, and your intimacy alive. May your body heal where it feels broken, and may the universe open doors of health, energy, and dignity you thought were long closed. Stay with me, gentlemen, because in the next part, we're going to tackle the first mistake men over 60 make. The one that silently drains testosterone, weakens circulation, and steals vitality without warning. And I promise, once you understand it, you'll never look at your habits the same way again. Gentlemen, the first mistake we must talk about, the one that silently drains more energy than men realize, is overdoing frequency. For decades, society told men that more is always better. The more you release, the more masculine you are. The more often, the more proof of virility. And many men carry that same mindset into their 60s and 70s. But here's the biological truth. What worked at 25 can sabotage you at 65. Why frequency matters more after 60. At a younger age, your body could reset hormones almost overnight. Testosterone surged, nitric oxide flowed freely, and the nervous system snapped back quickly. But after 60, the body changes. Testosterone naturally declines about 1% per year after age 40. According to Endocrine Review's 2012, blood vessels stiffen, making circulation slower to recover. The nervous system takes longer to move from release back to balance. When frequency is too high, these systems don't fully reset. The result? Fatigue, weaker erections, mood changes, even prostate irritation. What the research says. The Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2019, studied men over 60 and found that those ejaculating daily or more were 40% more likely to report reduced sensitivity, pelvic discomfort, and weaker erections compared to men who paced themselves. Harvard Health points out that excessive release lowers testosterone temporarily, leaving men with lower energy, poorer mood, and less motivation in the days following. The Mayo Clinic warns that overstimulation irritates the prostate, increasing inflammation and raising risks for urinary difficulties. Think about it this way. Each release is a workout for your hormones and circulation. At 25, you could train every day. At 65, constant strain without recovery isn't strength, it's sabotage. The refractory period, nature's way of saying rest. The refractory period is the time your body needs before it can respond again. For younger men, it might be minutes. For older men, it can stretch into hours or even days. This isn't weakness, it's biology's way of protecting you. Ignoring this signal by forcing frequency only depletes you further. A study in the Journal of Endocrinology, 2016, showed that older men who respected longer refractory periods preserved higher testosterone balance and better erectile function over time. Finding the right balance. So what is healthy frequency? Urologists and sexual health specialists generally agree. For men in their 60s and 70s, 2-4 times per week is the sweet spot. This rhythm keeps the prostate flushed, preserves circulation, and supports hormonal balance without burning out reserves. Anything more than that, especially daily frequency, tends to backfire. The prostate connection. Your prostate isn't just a bystander. It plays a direct role in circulation and release. Overdoing frequency congests the prostate, leaving it inflamed and vulnerable. The European Urology Journal notes that men who overstimulate often report lingering pelvic pressure and increased urinary symptoms, a warning sign many dismiss. The psychological trap. Here's another angle. Many older men equate frequency with proof of masculinity. They fear slowing down means weakness. But true strength isn't in forcing the body, it's in respecting it. As one of my patients, a 72-year-old retired pilot, once told me, "Doctor, I finally realized it wasn't about how many times I could prove myself. It was about how good I felt when I did and how long that good feeling lasted." That shift in mindset changed everything for him. His energy returned, his intimacy deepened, and his mornings grew stronger, not weaker. Your turn. Let me ask you directly. Have you ever noticed fatigue, pelvic soreness, or weaker mornings after pushing frequency too high? If yes, type 1 in the comments. If no, type 0. Don't be shy. Your honesty might help another man realize he's not alone. The takeaway: gentlemen, overdoing frequency is not proof of power, it's proof of misunderstanding. At this stage of life, your body doesn't need punishment. It needs balance. Too much burns out testosterone. Too little risks congestion. The right balance preserves circulation, prostate health, and vitality. So remember this simple truth: after 60, less can mean more. When you respect your body's rhythm, you don't lose masculinity, you preserve it. The second mistake men over 60 often make is ignoring the signals from the prostate. Gentlemen, let's be honest. Most men don't like talking about the prostate. It feels uncomfortable, even embarrassing. But silence has consequences. This walnut-sized gland sits right below your bladder, and it quietly controls more than you realize. Urination, circulation, ejaculation, and even the strength of your erections. When it speaks, you must listen. Here are the signals too many men ignore. Waking up 2 or 3 times at night to urinate. A weak or interrupted urine stream, feeling like the bladder never fully empties. Pelvic discomfort or pressure after release. Too often, men shrug these off with the words, "It's just age." But that's not age, it's a warning. The science makes it clear. The Journal of Urology, 2017, reported that more than 50% of men over 60 suffer from benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, an enlarged prostate that, if left untreated, can damage the bladder or even the kidneys. European Urology, 2018, linked chronic prostate inflammation directly to weaker erections, because inflammation reduces blood flow in the pelvic region. Harvard Health warns that early prostate cancer often looks exactly like normal aging: frequent urination, weak stream, pelvic pressure. Ignoring these signs delays diagnosis and makes treatment harder. So let me ask you directly: have you ever noticed these signals but brushed them off as normal aging? Type YES if you've ignored them, no if you've taken them seriously. Your comment could do more than you think. Another man scrolling through might see your answer and realize, "I'm not alone, I need to act too." Gentlemen, think of the prostate like the check engine light in your car. When the light comes on, you don't cover it with tape and keep driving, you check the engine. Ignoring it only guarantees bigger problems down the road. The truth is simple. Listening to your prostate can save your health and your manhood. Silence Let me is read not you something a protection. viewer once Denial wrote. is not strength. Doctor, awareness I'm 66 is survival. and I've been doing it the same third way for mistake decades. Many older Tight men grip, make fast is using pace. the wrong technique. But lately, I feel less sensitive and sometimes it's hard to finish. Could it really be because of how I do it? It's a brave question, and the answer is yes. Technique matters, especially after 60. Here's what the science tells us. The Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2018, described a phenomenon known as death grip syndrome. Men who overstimulate with excessive pressure often desensitize their penile nerves, making natural intimacy feel weak or unfulfilling. Cleveland Clinic warns that repetitive friction without lubrication can strain the pelvic floor and irritate the prostate, sometimes leading to lingering soreness. Harvard Health notes that poor technique doesn't just numb sensation, it reduces vascular elasticity in erectile tissue, quietly undermining erection quality over time. Another viewer once asked, "Doctor, sometimes I feel soreness in my pelvis after release. Is that normal at my age?" The truth is, no, that's not just normal aging. That soreness is your body saying, "You're overloading me with the wrong pattern." Erections are vascular events. They rely on blood flow and sensitive nerves. Harsh, repetitive techniques accelerate where instead of preserving vitality. So what can you do? Use lubrication to reduce friction. Vary rhythm, pressure, and pace. Don't train your body to respond to just one method. Slow down, focus on sensation rather than speed. Think of it as maintenance, not a stress test. Now let me ask you, gentlemen, have you ever noticed reduced sensitivity or discomfort after release but ignored it? Type 1 if yes, 0 if no. Your honesty may help another man scrolling through the comments realize, I'm not the only one and I need to change this too. The lesson is simple. What worked at 25 can harm you at 65 if you don't adapt. Technique isn't just a personal habit, it's either protection or sabotage. Gentlemen, here's a truth many men hate to hear but desperately need. Your body is not a machine. It does not run endlessly, fueled only by stubbornness and memory of youth. It needs recovery. Without it, what you think is strength is actually just slow erosion. Think of it like lifting weights. No man gets stronger by curling dumbbells every single hour of every day. You get stronger because after the stress comes the repair. Muscles rebuild, nerves reset, hormones recalibrate. That rest, often overlooked, is where the actual progress is made. But when it comes to sexuality, many men past 60 treat recovery as optional, like a luxury instead of a necessity. Science has shown this over and over. A 2016 study in the Journal of Urology found that older men who gave their pelvic nerves, tissues, and blood vessels time to reset had significantly lower rates of erectile dysfunction than those who pushed for constant stimulation without pause. Why? Because the nerves that control arousal are delicate. They get fatigued. Push them too often, too hard, and they stop firing properly. Blood vessels that never catch a break stiffen and narrow. Testosterone production, already fragile with age, drops even further under the weight of chronic strain. I had a patient, let's call him Robert, age 68. He was frustrated, thinking his body was broken because his erections weren't as strong as before. But when we walked through his habits, the truth came out. He never allowed recovery. He thought daily practice was training, when in reality it was overtraining. I told him what I'm telling you now, less can be more. He cut back, gave himself 2 to 3 days of full recovery between sessions, added a short walk after dinner to boost circulation, and within 2 months his nighttime erections returned stronger. His wife noticed before he did. So here's the practical rule. Listen to your body, not your impatience. If you're still sore, fatigued, or mentally dulled the next day, you're not ready yet. Give yourself the gift of rest. Think of recovery not as doing nothing, but as the secret training ground where resilience is forged. Ask yourself, are you rushing because you're afraid of losing it forever? Or are you willing to trust that by waiting, you'll actually rebuild what you thought was gone? Because when recovery becomes part of your rhythm, you stop chasing youth and start owning strength. Before I dive into this next mistake, let me pause and pull up a question from one of you, because this is exactly what I love about these conversations. A gentleman named Carl from Michigan, age 72, left a comment on our last episode. Doc, I hear you about recovery time, but how do I know if I'm resting enough or if I'm just being lazy and avoiding intimacy? Carl, that's a powerful question, and I'll answer it plainly. Laziness feels dull. Recovery feels restorative. If after a day or two you notice your energy picking back up, your morning erections returning, your mood lighter, that's recovery. If you're just skipping out of fear or habit, you won't feel those signals. The body will always tell you when it's ready if you actually listen. And Carl's question ties perfectly into today's mistake, ignoring the pelvic floor. Most men train their biceps, maybe even their heart with a little cardio. But the muscles that matter most for erections, control and stamina, they get ignored. The pelvic floor is like the foundation of a house. If it's weak, everything above it eventually collapses. Research from the University of Exeter in 2005 showed that men who did simple pelvic floor exercises for just 3 months experienced significant improvements in erectile strength and bladder control, comparable to what medications deliver, but without the side effects. I once had a patient, Henry, 64 years old, a retired bus driver. He laughed when I first mentioned Kegels. Doc, those are for women, he said. 2 months later, after sticking with a daily routine, his tune changed. Doc, my wife keeps asking what I'm doing differently because she feels the difference. Skipping pelvic floor training is like having a sports car but never checking the tires. You can fuel up with beets, pomegranates, testosterone boosters. You name it, but without a strong base, all that horsepower spins out. Gentlemen, here's my challenge to you. Try 10 pelvic floor contractions while you're listening right now. Yes, right now. Squeeze, hold, release. It's private, it's discreet, and if you make it a daily habit, you'll notice the difference not in months, but in weeks. Because the truth is this. The men who age with vitality aren't the ones who push harder every day. They are the ones who train smarter where it counts. Gentlemen, let's rip off another bandage. One of the biggest mistakes I see men make, especially after 60, is reaching for a pill as the first and only solution. The blue pill, the little shot, the quick fix. And listen, I'm not here to shame you. I've prescribed them, I've seen them help. But here's the unspoken truth. If you lean on pills without addressing the underlying causes, you're building a house on sand. I'll give you an example. Thomas, 71, came to me angry because his medication stopped working. He thought his body betrayed him, but when I looked deeper, the problem wasn't the pill. It was everything the pill couldn't fix. His blood vessels were clogged, his pelvic floor was weak, and he hadn't rested enough to let his nerves recover. Pills can't rebuild arteries. They can't reawaken testosterone. They can't replace sleep or circulation. Here's the kicker. The pill only works if there's blood flow to amplify, if your arteries are stiff, if nitric oxide levels are flat, if your nervous system is overworked. Then the pill has nothing to amplify. It's like pressing the gas pedal on a car that's out of fuel. Research from the Journal of Sexual Medicine shows that nearly 40% of men who rely solely on medication eventually report waning effectiveness. Not because the pill changed, but because their body continued to decline underneath it. So what do? You flip the script. You use pills, if needed, as a bridge, not as the foundation. Meanwhile, you rebuild the basics. Circulation through walking, beets, spinach, and hydration. Pelvic floor strength, the exercises we just walked through. Recovery, real sleep, not just hours in bed. Testosterone protection, sunlight, strength training, healthy fats. I tell my patients this simple truth. Pills can give you a night, but lifestyle gives you a future. Gentlemen, if you're listening right now and you've leaned too much on quick fixes, ask yourself, are you willing to trade a future of strength for a single evening? Or are you ready to rebuild the foundation so every evening becomes yours again? Gentlemen, here's one most men dismiss until it's too late, neglecting sleep. You think it's just about being tired the next day. Wrong. Sleep is where testosterone is produced. It's where blood vessels repair themselves. It's where the nervous system resets. Skip sleep, and you're robbing your body of the very fuel it needs to perform. I had a patient, Martin, 66, a retired electrician. He swore up and down that he ate well, exercised, even did his pelvic floor work, but he was still dragging. His wife whispered to me during the consult, "Doc, he's up half the night watching late shows." That was the missing link. Once we cut out the 1 a.m. TV habit, got him to bed by 10:30, his morning testosterone levels jumped nearly 25% in just 2 months. And guess what came back along with it? Stronger energy, sharper memory, and yes, firmer erections. Harvard research backs this up. Men sleeping fewer than 5 hours a night saw their testosterone drop to levels of someone 10-15 years older. Imagine aging a decade in one summer just because you stayed up scrolling. That's the price of just one more episode. And here's the part few men connect. Poor sleep equals higher cortisol. Higher cortisol equals more belly fat, more estrogen, and weaker performance. It's not just about missing out on energy. It's about letting stress hijack your entire hormonal system. So, if you want a prescription that's free, powerful, and guaranteed to boost your vitality, it's called a bedtime. Guard it like you would your paycheck. Because sleep isn't a soft luxury. It's the most anabolic drug you'll ever take. Gentlemen, let me ask you, when was the last time you woke up and actually felt gentleman? This is one of the silent killers of performance, unstable blood sugar. Most men think sugar just makes them gain a belly. But the truth, Wild blood sugar swings harden arteries, inflame nerves, and strangles circulation. And when circulation goes, so does everything else. Let me give you a picture. Picture your blood vessels like flexible garden hoses. With stable sugar, those hoses stay pliable, smooth, elastic. But every time you spike with soda, white bread, late-night pastries, those hoses get slammed with sticky glucose molecules. They scar, they stiffen. And once the lining is damaged, blood can't flow smoothly to where you need it most. I had a patient, David, 70, a retired steelworker. He came in frustrated, saying, "Doc, it's like the switch doesn't flip anymore." His blood work told the story: fasting glucose through the roof, A1C climbing, insulin resistance already at play. Once we cut his nightly desserts and replaced them with a handful of nuts and berries, his morning glucose dropped, circulation improved, and within 90 days he was back in the game. Here's the science. A 2013 Journal of Sexual Medicine study found that men with poor blood sugar control were nearly twice as likely to suffer erectile dysfunction compared to men with stable glucose. Twice as likely. That's not chance, that's cause and effect. The tragedy is, too many men ignore this because sugar doesn't hurt right away. It's a slow sabotage. You don't notice the damage until it's already stolen what matters most. The fix isn't rocket science. Cut processed sugar, eat fiber, walk after meals, sleep well. Every simple choice you make stabilizes blood sugar, protects vessels, and keeps circulation alive. Gentlemen, let me ask you straight. What's worth more, 5 minutes of sweet on your tongue or the return of strength, confidence, and fire in your body? That choice is made 3 times a day, every single meal. Restored. If you can't remember, that's your wake-up call.